Why hello, Blair here of Chaos Costumes to teach you more about Nomad. But before we get started, I wanted to let you guys know that the light switch plates that we made last video, they're available on my Etsy, so you can support me and Savannah if you wanted to just own them instead of make them. And if you do own a 3D printer, I do release my files over here on my Patreon. But let's get to the point of the video, which is we're making that lamp. Yeah. So without further ado, let's get started. If you remember correctly, last time we made these sweet light switch plates, and I spent a lot of time on them, and they're really cool. But this week, we're making a pendant light. Yeah, I got this kit from Amazon, and I'm going to adorn it with filigree. Yes, very fancy. And unfortunately, we do not need the sphere. I'm sorry, sphere. Goodbye forever. But to start this pendant light, I'm going to use the lathe with the grid turned on and draw, well, the first pendant. And since the magnet is turned on, I can lock it onto the grid. So it's perfectly up and down. And just mess with it until I get the shape that I want. And I'll increase that division to smooth it out. And I can go in with the tube. I can start drawing my filigree. And I'll turn on the symmetry with the mirror so I can see where I'm at here. I'll just go in and change the profile to make it extra fancy. Then I can increase the division to smooth it out and change the radius so I can make this a little bit more refined. And then on the end here, I'm just going to insert a cylinder and change the radius so it tapers a little bit. But realizing that I actually want this cylinder up here. There we go, that's how I want it. Now with that original tube selected, I'm going to keep drawing more tubes. To just show the nodes. And you can toggle the merge your node thing to delete the nodes or turn it off, depending on what you need it for. And then I'll turn off snapping when I want to tuck it in and, well, turn off snapping to grid also. So I can tuck it in deeper behind these little filigree sections. And I want to change this profile to be a little bit more square. If you remember, taking inspiration from my reference picture, but not copying it one for one. Now I'm going to select the original tube and keep drawing little swirly boys. Now I'm just going to insert, with instancing, a cylinder that we've already made so that I don't have to make it again. It's just there. And all I got to do is tuck it into where it needs to go. I'll just rinse and repeat, making more swirly boys. Yeah, once I practiced making filigree in the other video, I am unstoppable. It's honestly so much fun to make filigree and decorate basic shapes with tubes. Oops, all tubes. When I first started playing with Nomad, I wasn't certain if the profile tool was as powerful as it is now, but it really helps. I'm just going in and changing the radius of the tube so it flows a little bit better. I want this one to be a little bit taller than the one in front of it so it overlaps nicely. I'm just adding a little bit more detail. I want these bits to have a little bit of different of a profile, so I'm just going to scoop it out. And tuck those in a little closer. And once again, drawing some more, well, details. And I'll just instance this cylinder again. Using the insert object instance thing is actually really cool, and you'll get to see why once I get everything situated. Pretty much when you instance something, if you modify one, you modify them all. If you've used a repeater before, it's kind of like that, but it's not along a certain axis or line or radial, whatever. I would have never thought that when I first started using Nomad, I could do stuff like this. I was just amazed at like the little blob I made. Like my first sculptures were so lumpy. I didn't know why I was so proud of them, but I'm glad that I went through that journey and I was proud of them at the time. Also, I'm not sure if you could tell, but I got a new iPad. I don't know if my old iPad had this feature where if I hovered over something, you could see where my stylus is. I feel like that's really useful when trying to make tutorials for people. At first, it was like really annoying and I didn't like it. And I was like, wait, I should probably get used to it because then people can see what I'm doing. So yes, now you can see where my stylus is entirely. So I hope that helps. So aren't you guys excited for spring? Like, I live in Wisconsin and we had like a blizzard last week and that sucked. And like 2 days before it, it was like 70 degrees. I don't know what the weather's doing, but I would really like it if it stayed warm. Like now, like the birds are chirping and stuff. It's pretty great. I love watching the world come back to life. Yeah, I'm really torn about how much I should show you guys of my process. I feel like a very small percentage of people actually want to know how it's done from start to finish. But at the same time, I like just want to show my work and show how I got to where I got to, especially in like the era of AI where people can just like say, make me a thing, do 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 do, and then it makes the thing. I have messed with trying to color and face group someone's AI generated model, and it's a hot mess. Like there's holes where there should be holes, and there's like undercuts. It's really bad. I don't think a computer can do what I do because it's just so clean, right? You can't get a clean replica with AI. You can get something, it can do something, but like it will look like it from like, I don't know, like 10 feet away, but maybe 5 feet away. As soon as you start getting into the details, you can tell it was like an AI generated model. But now I'm just gonna turn all of this off so I can see what I'm doing. Because I want to add this little detail down here, which is kind of like, I don't know, a net. Like I probably should have done this first, but it really doesn't matter as long as I haven't combined everything. But I'm going to use, oh, you guessed it, boys and girls, tubes to build this out. To make sure it goes along the shape, I do have snapping turned on while I get the basic shape down. Like I won't be able to overlap my shapes yet while doing it this way, but it will hug the lathe shape that we already made. So now I'm gonna take this mirror that I've already done and add a radial repeater. And for some reason it's off center. I figured out why it did this, but you get to watch me circle bus through the pivot and being confused why it was misaligned. So I'll just select the object, which is just the radial repeater, and move it over. And still unsatisfied with it, I will turn on the grid, move it all the way up here, realize it's still very much off center, and try my best to manually line it up. Now I can go in and increase the count so they're touching. I think 8 is a good amount. Now I can go in and turn snapping off and get everything to touch. I can go in and show everything I hid and make sure it's overlapping nicely. And I want the profile of these tubes to be a little bit more shallow, so I'm just going to do that. Make sure they're still peeking out. A shape underneath. Now, to discern what I'm working with under here, I'm just going to change the color of these guys so I can make sure it's not poking out in front of the details, and it is quite significantly. So I'm going to fix that by just moving the profile up to make it taller. Reason why I'm doing it this way is because since it is built off of a curve, I don't want to mess with the base of the shape so that it still follows the curve. Now I can just hide that, and I'll get back to working on this filigree. So I'm going to start building out the middle of this filigree and changing what it shows so I don't mess with the profile. Well, I don't know why I haven't done that. Turn off show and viewport. That would fix everything. Well, now I know for the future. Thanks, past player, for figuring this out. I don't know. 2 days too late. Now, to continue to flesh out the middle, I'm actually going to add a box. I'm going to rotate that box by 45 degrees. And change the pivot to align up and down. And then clone that box so I can keep building up these diamonds that go down the middle. And then duplicating that one more time. And making another one.
Another one.
And another one.
Another one.
This will look cool, I swear. Trust the process. Oh, and turn off snapping so it stops snapping at a 45-degree angle. Now that I have the boxes laid out, I can clone them concentrically. And I'm going to use one of those boxes as a Boolean tool. I'll cut that out of the middle of that one box. And now I have this diamond that's framed out. Now I can go in and subdivide this little square guy to smooth out the edges. And then validate that other box and do the same thing, and subdividing it. I'll go in with a smooth operation to smooth it out a little more. And chamfer the edges a little bit. Is it chamfer or fillet? I never remember. Maybe it's fillet. The fillet sounds like softer. I don't know. I have not figured out a way to get like nice little... is it chamfer? Gosh, I don't know. We're gonna call them chamfers, which is the ones that are like little diagonal corners. I haven't figured out a way to how to do that in Nomad. That looks good. But I'm just gonna smooth out all of these little boxes in their corners and whatnot. And to get the edges to smooth out really nice, I do reduce the division quite substantially. And that gives you even more effective smoothness when you subdivide. I'm just doing the same thing that I did above it, where I want these concentric diamonds. Now with the X-ray tool, just making sure it's cutting out enough. And just booleaning out that shape. Boolean is such a hard word to say if you're trying to do it fluidly. You have to like think about it. Like, I don't think I could say Boolean like 5 times fast. Boolean, 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 Boolean. Oh, I did it. Oh my god. Wait, Boolean, 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 Boolean. I did it only 4 times, if you're counting. And then did another 4 times. Maybe I just had to warm up. I don't know, smoothing them down like that makes them look more, I don't know, cohesive. Less like, hey, I slapped a box on this. Like, no, this is a design element. Now I'm just going to add a cube, and these tubes will be used for the center details. And to get it to conform to the curve of our shape, I'm going to snap it and move the nodes around, but it's going to make it off center. So I'll just go back in with the grid and magnet turned on and just click that back in. So now it's still centered. Now I'll go in and change the radius. Then I can go in and change the profile to make it look like the reference. And to smooth it out, I'll increase the division. And I want to add one more node right before it terminates so I can curve it out like that. I want this to be a little skinnier, so I'm just going to change the pivot and squish it down. And now that I've tucked it in, I can make well, what if I no, still the same thing. Yeah, it turns out if you shrink something with a gizmo that's a tube, it's enormous when you try to draw it again. So I'm just gonna save that preset and draw a new tube without having the old one selected. Then go in and apply the profile preset that I've already made. I can just, I don't know, mirror it, and I'm done with this detail. Now that I have the center details punched in, I want to mask off where I want to split this off. So I have a better idea how far the mesh needs to go. And I want to add a radial repeater to what I've done to make sure it is all connected nicely. Still haven't figured it out yet why my radial repeater shows up fucking off to the side. So I'll fix that real quick. And should I have had the radial repeater on when I was designing all this? Probably, but it's not too bad to fix it. So what I'm doing here is I'm finally using the instance as it was intended to reduce the faces, and then I'll do that subdivide thing to round off the edges easily. And then go in with the smooth operation to really round them off. And here you can see that I'm not paying attention at all to the screen. I was like looking at them and you're like, oh yeah, I'll just combine all these mirrors and get that and uninstance them. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, just join them and then uninstance them. Join them and uninstance them. Then I'll be done. Like, how do I not see what is happening over here? Which is like this propagation of a bajillion little dots. And then I notice. I finally see it. What have I done? Oh, it's so bad. Oh my goodness. Well, let's undo all that nonsense that I just did to myself. And realizing that I have to uninstance these things. That's what that little highlighted, I don't know, oblong shape to the left there means. It means it's instanced. So uninstance it first, then join it. So I'm just gonna go in and uninstance everything. There we go. Now I can combine all the mirrors individually, mind you. There we go. Now it's all situated, and I just want to add one more little detail that I didn't want mirrored like the rest of them and kind of emerge from the middle of where it repeats. And since I didn't save the profile that I was using for everything else, I'm just going to copy it. Now that I'm marginally happy with most of it, I'm going to add another tube. This tube I'm going to use to make the little up-down line portion of the design. Yes, very official terms, the up-down portion. In some circles, they would call these ribs? I don't know. And yo, I want to keep adding more details, of course, why not? But with a sphere. And with that sphere, we're going to add a curve. And the curve repeaters function just like the tubes. I don't think I'm following the reference anymore, I'm just kind of like making stuff that looks cool at this point. And straightening out that tube so it's in the middle. And I'll add a radial repeater and realize that it's totally sticking out, so I will tuck that in. I'll just combine those repeaters and add more details, but this time with a tube. Part of the designing is going to disguise like the ugly lamp parts, I don't know, kind of making it up as I go. But I'll just give this little guy a crown on top, why not? Now I'll add another sphere to kind of make a base for this crown. Those two things, I'll add a radio repeater. And I was like, oh, where did it go? Oh, it's over here? Fun. So I haven't figured out the solution yet. So I'm just going to manually fix this. Gosh, it's so annoying once I do figure it out. Like, I could have saved myself so much trouble. Yeah, you can really get kind of crazy with it, but I don't want it so complex that it becomes hard to paint. Like, there will be so many details that dry brushing it means nothing. When I say dry brushing, I mean glorified finger painting. I'm just gonna clone this guy. Bring him up over here out of the radial repeater so I can make more like spires to this crown. I don't know what else to call it. I'll scooch that profile back so it's not jutting out in front of the rest of the crown. And tuck that back over here. And I will add a radio repeater, and I figured out what the problem was. Like, huh, it must be starting the radio repeater off of another shape. That's the problem. So my little brain is going overtime. I'll get rid of that radio repeater. And then get this out of this tree here and just put it on top. Then I'll add a radio repeater like, wow, it's in the center. Wow. So that solves that problem. And I actually want this a little less repeated. Clear that out a bit and make those little orbs cover the base. Now we can show the little netting piece and just fix that up a little bit. And now I can add my sizing cylinder, and the size of the hole that I need is 40 millimeters, so the radius will be 20 millimeters. And I'll just make this 20 millimeters tall for prosperity's sake. It really doesn't matter the height of it. And I'll take my sizing cylinder, put it down there, and take the select tool and take my itty bitty tiny guy and make it bigger. I'll just X-ray that cylinder so I can see what I'm doing a little bit. I just want there to be a little bit of a lip on the inside. Now I can go in with the mask and shell it from the inside by -2 millimeters. You can tell it did its thing by it looking strange like this. I'll just hide the big dense doohickey and I'll start joining the mirrors together. Same with this radio repeater. You really have to do everything individually. Like, if you do it all at once, you're gonna lose something. I can take all my details, and I'll join them. Man, it's really nice having a new iPad. That layer is 13 million vertices, and it barely flinched. It's so relieving to, like, not have to worry that it's gonna crash. But I'm gonna decimate it. Don't you worry. And I'll just take this original shape here and boolean out my details. Is that necessary? I don't know. It keeps things nice and clean. I can cut out the hole that the light fixture belongs to. Just doing some final touches to this lattice work here. And joining all of that. Cutting out what pokes out the top. Remeshing it together. So I can smooth it out, but smoothing it individually is a waste of my time. So I'm going to use the smooth operation. And move it around a bit. Get it to look a little better. And being annoyed that I'm not changing everything, so adding the Z-axis to the symmetry. Rotating it a bit so it's actually centered on the details. And for the last little bit here, I'm actually going to add a sphere at the end of these little points just to make it look better. I don't know. Just so it terminates more interestingly. And I'll just add a radial repeater to that. Easy cheesy. Make sure it's touching. Could you imagine those little floating balls? That would not bode well for printing. And then I'll just clone that repeater and rotate it. I'll take all these things, join them, and then voxel remesh the pieces together so I can do one final smoothing. And to be able to see what I'm doing, I'm going to change the color back to one color and smooth that out. And I'm just gonna voxel remesh this all together so that when I go to repair it in the slicer, it's not gonna take like 5 bajillion years. So decimating is a very important part of your workflow when 3D printing, but I wasn't paying attention to the fact that there's a mask on the inside of that. I was like, oh, I'll just keep going until I hit about 200k vertices, and when you mask something, it doesn't decimate it. So let's fix that and remove the mask. Just hit clear all. There we go. Now I can decimate it to the level that I usually do. Take this 3 million tube assembly back down to a reasonable amount. And I'll just join all of that and finally name it. So let's slice this bad boy. See, since I did voxel remeshing, I only have to repair 43 non-manifold edges. And to get this to print more securely, I'm going to print it upside down and reinforce the support along this bottom here, just because a lot hinges on these little points. At least 12 hours worth of hinging. Just cleaning up what I accidentally added up here. You guys ever had that like shift thing pop up if you hold the shift down too much? Yeah, that happened to me. I just sliced this up with an aligned seam. It's looking pretty good. Could I have designed something that doesn't need this much support? Yes. Did I? No. So let's print it and see what happens. I love lamp. I love it. It gives so much ambience to this room, especially when it's like dark in here. I didn't realize I needed a new light source that's aesthetic until I made it. But I figured I'd like put it here and it just will live here for the rest of eternity. I'm not gonna move it. I'll maybe tell myself, oh, I should probably move this somewhere. Yeah, it's never gonna happen. But thank you so much for your support, these two lovely people. I don't pitch my Patreon very hard until, well, the beginning of this video because I don't know, I don't think I'm ready. But maybe I am? I don't know. It's out there if you want to support me or get the files of my tutorials. But if you've made it all the way to the end, I really appreciate it if you like the video. I totally read the comments, so leave a comment down below if you just want to, like, I don't know, tell me about your day. I will read it, I will listen, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Every little bit counts. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.